Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Why Press Play. My name is Gordo, and joining me here is the inimitable man behind the lens, filmmaker extraordinaire, Anthony Downs.
Happy to be here again, Gordo.
Filmmaker and videographer.
Yep.
Photographer somewhat.
Yeah, it's more of a hobby, but it's all about the film and video.
It's all about the film and video. And you're online at the moment, Anthony?
I am, yeah. My Twitter is Anthony_Downs.
Yeah.
That's mostly my filmmaking stuff, and my Instagram is at Anthony Downs. It's all filmy stuff as well, but a lot of nice pictures. Or my film company is Escapism Films.
And on that website, then you have some of your reel, and you have like a few little
on my web. You see on escapismfilms.com you find all my work, all my commercial video, as well as my documentaries and music videos and films.
Cool. So we worked together in that. You were the director of
once
a short
again
film.
There is a film up on that website starring Gordo, one of my first short films. Go check it out.
It was an experience, I have to say.
It was funny. Gordo drives the comedy, that's all I'll say.
Thanks very much. It was weird. It was a great couple of days though, man. It really was. And made friends for life.
That's how we became buddies.
Absolutely. And the rest, like all the fucking, changed my life forever, sir. But so this is Why Press Play, and we have Anthony here talking about films. If you want to get on to him to talk to him about films, or ask him questions about what he does or how he makes stuff, or I'm sure you're willing to talk about the gear you got. You just got a
absolutely, yeah. Just upgraded my kit.
Gear.
Lots of new fancy filmmaking.
A lot of 4K
equipment.
stuff. A lot of like run and gun, like small mirrorless DSLR stuff, and I mean, if people are interested in film and you're watching it. Want to get in touch with Anthony and find out what he has or what he can do or how he can help you, or indeed if you want to tell him that he's fucking wrong about about Guy Pearse and all, and he's you can get him at Anthony_Downs on Twitter. If you want to get in contact with the show, with Why Press Play, we are on all the social medias as Why Press Play, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, all the ones, Snapchat, the whole lot, and we're on Reddit. It's r/Why Press Play. And the website is whypressplay.com. We also have a Discord server, so if you want to come and chat with other movie fans or occasionally with me or some of the other guests from the show, we do have a Discord server with different channels for different movies and different types of chit chat. If you haven't had Discord before, it's a social media app that has chat and voice channels, and a lot of the cool kids use it for TeamSpeak when we're playing games and stuff like that online, which we also do on Why Press Play. So we play PlayStation 4 and Steam here, and some of the older console emulators like Mega Drive and Nintendo, which are making a huge comeback. So we're reviewing those games and seeing whether you should waste your time playing them or not, and kind of picking apart like the hidden gems and some of the lost classics that are out there. And you can get all that stuff on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whypressplay. We're also on VidMe as well, /whypressplay, and we stream live on Twitch from PlayStation 4 and also from Steam on the computer. And this show wouldn't be possible without the lovely folks at patreon.com. They are supporting us. If you want to drop $1, you want to support the show, you want to help us out, let's hold $1. You head to patreon.com/whypressplay, and we'd be more than happy to take your goddamn money. Now I tell you, it's not for nothing. You get a bunch of different perks and different kind of behind the scenes stuff. We do little vlogs. We have outtakes from the shows and extra banter and stuff that we'll be talking about during the shows, and we also have early release YouTube videos and stuff that we make that's for the general public. Everyone on Patreon gets it first, and then we have live shows as well. So this will be recorded live, for example, and people get to listen to that through Discord with their Patreon perks. So get on to patreon.com/whypressplay and subscribe to this on the podcast player you listen. If you went looking for the movie Memento and found our show and you like it, don't forget to subscribe, share it to your folks, and see if anyone else likes it. And also leave us a review on iTunes, please. It means nothing to you, probably a couple of minutes, just the 5 stars. 5 stars. But to us and to iTunes, it obviously matters a lot for some weird reason. Doesn't matter to Netflix though, goddamn Amy Schumer. So let's get into it. Memento, directed by Christopher Nolan, one of his earlier, I think his second movie.
His first funded Hollywood movie.
This shit is amazing.
It's special.
If you haven't seen this movie, stop listening to this podcast. Get out and fucking watch it now.
It's a hell of a movie. Like,
absolutely.
Forget about Christopher Nolan's career for a second and just watch it as a standalone movie.
Absolutely. And
then realise that it was his early film. It's special.
Cracker. The weirdest thing about this film, And the thing that sets it apart from all others, I believe, is the fact that it's pretty much backwards.
It is backwards, no pretty much about it. There's a handful of movies that we could all name that are non-chronological. Pulp Fiction comes to mind, and there's other movies out there that are not only non-chronological but actually backwards. This, in my opinion, is the perfect example of plot story justified. The non-chronology is absolutely justified by the story and the reason behind it. It's not just a filmmaker, it's not just a gimmick. It's not, let's make it backwards. There's the perfect reason, absolutely justifiable.
Cool. It does kind of mess with your mind, and it keeps the suspense while showing you everything from the end.
It does. I noticed
all the way back to the start. You're like, oh, you cheeky pup.
I've seen this a handful of times, seen the movie loads of times over the years, but I was watching it recently on the lead up to this podcast, and I realised early on it's easy to follow. The first 5 minutes it's like, oh, I get it, it's fine, and then after 10 minutes 50 minutes you're kind of like, it's more of a mind fuck, and like you follow more and more, but you're wondering, you're waiting for things. And like when I remember watching this first time when I was 15, I'd never felt so like on edge watching a movie. And I'm not talking about like horror movie, I mean like, oh my god, what's going to happen. It was very much like edge of your seat stuff. Well,
in interviews, Christopher Nolan said that they made the movie this way to counteract what's called the pizza guy mentality, where people can watch a movie or watch a TV show and like drift in and out or be on your phone, or we call it probably like two device mentality now or something like that. And if you got up to go get the pizza and you missed 3 minutes of the film and came back, you could still like join in with the whole story and understand what's going on, and it's no problem. And I mean, if you can miss 3 or 4 minutes of the film and still know what's going on, it's probably not that tightly packed full of emotion and drama. This movie, if you miss 3 minutes of it, you're fucked. You're done. Yeah. And he said he made it specifically that way so that if you get up to go for a piss, you'll hold your piss till the end of this.
It's definitely like, it's the cliche edge of your seat stuff, and it's not edge of your seat because of like heavy action film action scenes. It's just the drama and the tension, and you want to know what the hell is going on.
Absolutely. So what the hell is going on? We're going to do our usual little guest test, the 60 second plot, no spoilers. So we're going to give you 60 seconds, and you're going to tell us what all the movie's about in 60 seconds, start to finish. No back of the DVD in a world. It's this summer. None of that shit. We want the full story, as much set pieces as possible. Maybe if you take it one timeline at a time. You 60 seconds starting from now.
Okay, the movie follows Leonard, who he suffers from, like, he has no short-term memory, and he's actively looking for his wife's killer. He's looking for his wife's killer. He's in detective mode. He has all these notes and all these tattoos to try find his wife's killer, and the whole movie goes backwards.
20 seconds.
The whole movie goes backwards, and we only know what the lead character knows because he forgets. He's forgetting what happened. The movie opens with him killing somebody, and then we realise as the story unfolds, it's what led him to kill this guy. Basically, all motivated by somebody raped and killed his wife.
40 seconds.
And it's the audience follows Leonard as he tries to figure out what's going on because he can't make new memories, and the other people around him, kind of the other people he meets who potentially manipulate him for their own personal gain. And it's just this amazing story about this awesome
6 seconds. That's good.
I did okay. I did better than I did before. Yeah,
kept going right to the end. It's tough, isn't it?
It is. I need to have a timer going beside me.
But even in that minute, you told almost everything, and at the same time told nearly nothing.
Yeah, you're right though. I need to not do this back at DVD blurb. It's got to be just out by memory. If you love a film, you'll be able to do it.
We had Steve Elliott do one, and he spent the first 40 seconds describing the first 3 minutes of the film. and I'm like, 40 seconds, and he's like, oh fuck, okay, and then this happens, and then the end, and you're like, yeah, okay.
You saying 20 seconds and 40 seconds definitely throws me off. I guess that's the point, really, isn't it? So, like, you told us, so there's a guy called Leonard, and he's played by Guy Pearse. So the Guy Pearse, you know, is an Australian actor. He was in Home and Away. A lovely looking chap. He has a great look about him for this. He has that kind of
weird,
like kind of face.
He wears the decisions of his life on his face. This guy, right? You've seen him in Prometheus and Alien Covenant. He was the old Wayland, I think he's called. He hasn't done a mad amount of top class films, to be honest. He's in The Hurt Locker, like a bit part. I was looking on his IMDb. There's lots of these movies called Jack Irish. I don't know what that means. I've never seen them, but there's a lot of them on his IMDb.
I think it might be a TV show where he plays some guy called Jack Irish.
Oh, really? Yeah. I don't know. There's a lot. He like I couldn't put my finger on anything that he's ever been in that's like, this is, you know, seminal Guy Pearse work. But in this, man, he is fucking cracker. So he has retrograde amnesia. He has this special condition that Christopher Nolan's brother found out about while in a psychology class, and he wrote a short story about it. And then the two boys, while on a road trip from Chicago to San Francisco, ended up coming up with the basic plot for this Memento. And the short story was released for Esquire magazine as a short story that had similar kind of mechanics to this. But the movie, like, when it was released, was nominated for 2 Oscars. It fucking got a bajillion awards, all the film festival awards, everything. And it was because it was a little gimmick. But like you said, loads of them have tried little gimmicks like that before and not been good. This is mechanical, scientific, psychological, physical, like emotional, has it all.
Yeah, if someone tells you, oh, watch this movie, it goes backwards, you're going to go, what are we talking about? Why does the movie go backwards?
Yeah.
Like, you know, you could start picturing scenes in reverse, like actually in reverse, but it's not that. It's like, it's 10, 15 minute increments of like, this happens and then what happened before and what happened before.
Yeah.
It's just everything.
But how it does it, it lets you experience the same retrograde amnesia that the lead character Leonard has.
Because he's constantly talking about his condition and reminding new people, or being reminded that the people he interacts with has met before. Lots of times he can't remember. And
some of them take a lot of them.
I think they all.
He ends up like getting surrounded by shitty people.
At one point, they all kind of take advantage of the fact that he can't remember. Some more so than others.
Yes, some are just like, he meets one guy called Bert who runs the motel that he's staying at.
He has him renting out 2 rooms.
Has him renting out a bunch of rooms, and he's like, oh shit. And then he goes, well, why are you telling me? And he's like, well, you're not going to remember in a few minutes anyway. And he's like, you're right, Bert. And it seems that like Leonard's character really changes with this whole thing. So the point is that Leonard can't remember more than a few minutes. He can't make any new memories, can't make any short-term memories. So anything that he does, he instantly forgets about it. And this mechanic is used both to drive the character, to drive the story, and the mechanics of the movie. Because we're only shown it a piece at a time, and we don't know what's happened before. So we're dumped in this situation like Leonard is, and it's in a very kind of film noir type of setting. So if you remember those old, the minute she walked into my office, I could tell she was trouble. See, man,
it's a detective story. At the end of the day, it's absolutely a detective story because he is the detective. Yeah, he is, because he's looking for his wife's killer, but it's all motivated by what he has going on. He's not detecting for anybody else. Yeah, and you know, the plot point of you finally get the gist of what's happening. He's wearing the designer suit, and he's like meeting all these people, and he just killed somebody, blah blah. And then it cuts to him in a hotel room, and it's black and white. And you're like, when is this? Is this before? Is this after? Is it during? Is it another day? And the only thing, if you really look closely, the only thing you can kind of discern from it is which tattoos he has or doesn't have. Yes. If he has more tattoos, little. If you watch it a couple of times, you look out for things like that.
Well, later on, you find out that the mechanics of the movie, it's very scientifically done. So I watched one deconstruction online, and there is a part actually in the DVDs, like the special edition DVD, where you get 2 DVDs. You get Memento on one as the movie, and then on the second one, it has all loads of special features, one of which is if you solve a memory game.
Yeah, it was like a hidden feature. The DVD I had was a hidden feature to watch it.
You have to solve a bunch of these memory puzzles, and then you get to watch the movie in chronological order. And it turns out that the black and white stuff is shown chronologically in the movie. Yeah. Right? From start to finish. So the first black and white scene you see is the first one, and it plays forwards. And then the backward scenes in colour, the colourised ones, are all played in order but backwards.
And the black and white stuff is happening just before he meets anyone that's in the movie.
Yes, like, and the last black and white scene and the first colour scene in the timeline merge.
It's absolutely.
And there's a point where it goes from black and white, and he saturates the image and turns up the colour to indicate, this is now the real timeline. And from there's no jump cuts anymore, and that's near the end of the movie, and it just continues on.
By then we realise that everyone that's in the film is almost using him to their advantage, one way or another.
It's amazing.
It's just absolute. It's masterful filmmaking. I don't want to Don't get too...
Even the way that the mathematical construction of how that's done, like the black and white scenes in the deconstruction that I watched were named like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then the colour ones were like chronologically backwards, were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's A1, B2, C3.
Oh, wow, nice.
So in order, so you'd see a black and white scene that's A, and then in the movie the next scene is 1 and it's a colour one, and then the next black and white scene is B, and then the next colour one is 2, and it goes like that backwards until they meet in the middle.
Yeah, it's
like fucking awesome.
Like I said, it's the perfect example of filmmaking, non-chronological filmmaking, and it's masterful. And the fact that this is this guy's second film, I say this guy like nobody knows him, but when I was first watching this movie, nobody knew Christopher Nolan. I was getting into all these directors and I was like, oh, who's this guy? And I've literally been following his career from that. And I assume if you're listening to this podcast, you're a movie nerd, so you know who the hell Christopher Nolan is. He's a special person in the world right now in the film industry. Has been for years. And
he has that kind of now because of the Batmans and because of his other trilogy. And he has a lot of stuff with like circumventing traditional kind of movie construction norms, where he would go against the grain,
even his original,
just to do his own thing. Like, so yeah, the way he makes like the films together, like he circumvents all of these like norms and rules. And the trilogy that he has a Batman trilogy, right? And they, have certain thematic and linear tones that kind of undulate between the movies and stuff like that. And because it's the same actors and it's all that, he's able to wind that longer story together in the Batman movies. There are like huge thematic links between Memento, The Prestige, and Inception, and you can see that there's like certain aspects, like it's like Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright, and they do the Cornetto trilogy. So you see these things, these same things popping up again and again because it's the same actors, it's the same thing. So for Memento and Inception to be linked, like one of the things that were linked is that Memento is maybe the inception of Inception, like that he's incepting himself, and we can see the outside of him, like going, I don't want to spoil it obviously, but it's like, you didn't do that, or no, he's changing his own memory and conditioning himself because of his condition. He has retrograde amnesia or whatever, which means he knows who he is, but he can't make any new memories or whatever. And in Inception, it's kind of the same thing. You kind of have to forget those memories. It's all about the past. It's all about, incepting yourself to believe a certain narrative so you can live within a dream and not have to come out of it or whatever. You're stuck down in the basement forever. Like, he has those themes are going through it. The same in The Prestige, where like when you die, you die forever, or do you? And it's this comeback, this resurrection thing. So Memento is this resurrection of this life of Leonard that maybe, as we find out later on in the film, maybe he has already completed his task, which is to kill his wife's killers. So one night, him and his wife are asleep. She gets up to go to the bathroom. Two guys break into the house, rape her. He comes into the bathroom, catch him by the head, hop his head off the wall, and he has this condition then, this amnesia that he can't make any new memories. And the story he tells from the very first moment is, this guy killed my wife, and he has tattoos all over.
John G. raped and killed my wife.
Yeah, that's, and it's a big tattoo that he has across his whole chest, written backwards so he can see it in the mirror in the mornings. And this guy killed and raped his wife, so his mission is to kill that guy. We find out very soon into the movie that maybe he's already done that years ago. Yeah, we don't know how long ago.
The movie opens with him killing somebody. Again, it's not a spoiler because you see him kind of blowing someone's head off, and then as it goes on, you realise he's chasing his killer, but this guy is helping him, and the guy he just killed is helping him. The Joe Pantoliano character.
Yeah, who is just
really, really good. Yeah.
Joe Pantoliano, for those who don't know, he was the police chief in the Bad Boys movies. He was also in The Matrix. He's in
The Matrix, yeah. He's Cypher in The Matrix.
Yeah, he's one of the bad guys in Baby's Day Out.
He's in Sopranos also, as well. He's really good part of Sopranos.
He's in Risky Business, one of the bad guys there. He is the brother who has the wig in The Goonies.
He's a great...
Like, the hair, they go for the hair.
He's that kind of mid-level actor that comes up like that, character actor that's amazing. Like, even in The Matrix, I think he stands out. Like, he's...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's the guy that's like, I know this steak is not real.
Yeah, the guy that wants to get in, to get back into the Matrix.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we see Leonard killing this guy, and then it goes backwards, and he's helping him find the killer. So we're trying to figure out. You're watching and kind of going, okay, he just killed him. So now we see, did this guy rape and murder his wife? And then as it goes on, you realise he's called Teddy, but he's also with John G. And then like this John G. Plot point, John G raped and murdered my wife. It turns out that there's lots of different John G's, and there's a James G, and there's a Jimmy G, and it kind of just evolves from that like maybe he's killed more than one person who he thinks. And the question is,
instantly that question is raised when you start the movie. Leonard has the gun to the back of Joe Pantoliano's like Teddy's head, and he's going, "I'm going to kill you," and Teddy's going, "You don't even know what you are. Like, you know how long you've been doing this?"
Yeah, and because
let's go into the basement and I'll show you.
And because all he's doing is watching. He's looking at his tattoos and he's looking at his Polaroids, and he just, when he thinks he finds them, when he thinks he finds who the killer is, he just maliciously just wants to kill them. He doesn't think of anything else, because he always says he doesn't run off. What's it? He says he runs off facts, not instinct, or something.
No, he runs off facts, not off memory. Memory is unreliable. Memory can change the shape of a room or the colour of a car or someone's face. But facts and instinct, that's what I remember.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
He conditions himself, and he retells the story of this guy called Sammy Jankis. So he has a tattoo written on his hand. So every time he goes to wipe his hand, it looks like he wrote a note for himself, and he tries to rub it off every time, and it's a tattoo. And it says, "Remember Sammy Jankis." And basically that's a story about a guy who, when Leonard was an insurance salesman, he got to investigate this case of a guy who was in an accident, and he got this form of amnesia. And this guy couldn't work, he couldn't do anything. He hadn't got more than a couple of minutes worth of memory. And he investigated him, and Leonard basically said, "Yeah, okay, no, you're it's a psychological issue, and you don't have a mental health insurance, so you don't get paid." And the wife was pure distraught and everything. And this is the black and white scene that's playing in the past.
Yeah, there's another black and white scene,
and it's very noir.
He's telling it is,
and he's telling it through the phone to an anonymous source, right? And the phone rings and he answers, and he just starts belting out all these facts, and this is how it works, and this is how my brain works, and this is what it is. And you're kind of going like, fuck man, while all this other shit is going on in colour, at the same time you're going, I don't know, like, you're killing people and running around and all, like, should you really be telling that to people, like some random on the phone?
You've no idea who he's talking on the phone, and you have no idea why he's so open about what's going on,
and he keeps forgetting who he's talking to, and he's like, who's this? And they're like, is this, oh yeah, Sammy Jankis, let me tell you. And he just instinctively just starts telling this story. So Sammy Jankis forgot this thing, and his wife was testing him. I'm not going to spoil the end, because I don't know if you've seen it or not, but if you have seen it, you know the crack. And that part of it is just so, like, amazingly poignant for what Leonard is going through, because Leonard could very well have done something similar.
Yeah, he has this constant kind of reflection of, like, a comparison to use, and Sammy Jenkins is the comparison, so he can use that story to tell people what he has going on himself, and also to anchor in himself what's wrong with him. Because, and this is the crux of the movie, I think, that's not overtly shown, and Christopher Nolan is really good at that, like, covert shit, right? But think about it, right? Think about being a guy, if you haven't seen a movie, right? Think about being a guy who every 6 or 7 minutes you shake your head and you look around. You don't know where you are. You know who you are, but you don't know why you're in the place you're in. You don't know what's happening around you, or why you're wearing the clothes you're wearing, and what you have on you. You remember your wife is dead. The last thing you remember is lying on the bathroom floor looking into her eyes as she dies after being raped by a guy. And it's just as raw as when it happened, because it's that memory of it just happened for you every 7 minutes. You get that exact same feeling of, like, oh, that can't kill my wife, like. And you wonder, like, could he not just let it go, or is it not just a thing he just, like, that's so raw in him. Then he looks at himself,
and every time he looks at himself in the mirror, he's like, John G. murdered my wife. All right.
And he's reminded of what he's doing, which is being a detective to find and take vengeance on his wife.
And Sammy Jenkins is like a short-term thing of going, don't forget, you got a brain injury and you can't remember stuff, so you have to look at all this stuff. And he looks, and think about, like, you're leveling up in a computer game, and you've gotten so far into the level, and you know how the level goes, but you die at the end before you clear it, and you're like, oh, So you start again, and you jump, do the thing, like playing Donkey Kong or some shit. The barrel comes, you jump the thing, you go up to, and eventually, with enough practice, you can get to like level 99 super fast. So that's what Leonard is doing every 6 or 7 minutes, starting from scratch with nothing. Remembering Sammy Jankis going, oh yeah.
And the tattoos are a reminder.
And he has conditioning so that he knows, like, he has pictures in his pocket. So he knows, what's going on? Pictures in my pocket. Pulls it all out. He looks at all the stuff. He's like, okay, I live here. Here's my car. This is what I look like. This is what I'm doing. And he has these Polaroids that help him remember straight away. And he sees the people that he sees in his life. He's taking a picture of them and writing their name and little notes about them on these Polaroids or whatever. And I think that it's just so well constructed, and the character is so well done, and towards the end it gets like you're looking at like humanity going like, oh my god, man, if I was in that position, I could just like go into a home and just like forget my whole life and relive that moment of my wife getting raped and killed every 7 minutes, and wake up every 7 minutes and feel that, and feel helpless, and feel like I haven't done anything or couldn't do anything. Like, that's fucked up, man. It's really fucked up, and it makes you really examine and question like your own reality and what you have when you have it. Like,
yeah, when you at the end of the movie, when you realise like, what's been going on and stuff, it's really like, hits you, and you kind of go, that's like, it's so heavy that what he's got going on. And then to top it off, any people in his life, the friends, the kind of the people, they're all just purely taking advantage of him just for their own good.
And you wonder how long this has been going on, Like, one of the characters Carrie Ann Moss plays, called Natalie, is the absolute, like, quintessential user in this movie. Like, he uses the shit out of him to get what she wants. And at the start, she's introduced as, a benevolent character, might be the love interest, blah, blah, blah. And in the middle, she's like, oh, this is a fucking cunt. She is taking advantage of him big time. And then towards the end, you're like, yeah, fair enough, I suppose. Like, she's probably entitled to, like, he fucked up her shit. But you don't find that out because you're finding out with Leonard. Yeah,
we're following Leonard's memories because he doesn't know what just happened. We don't know what just happened.
Well, that's the thing, you see, because he should know what just happened, but he forgot, so he doesn't know. So we're only learning it with him backwards chronologically. So the way Nolan made the film, it forces us to live life like Leonard by not knowing. And when Teddy goes, come on and check the basement, and he goes, no, shoots him in the head in the first like 40 seconds, you go, what's in the basement? And you don't find out till the end. Yeah. Like, it's really, really, really well done. As well, when you're feeling that kind of, that thing at the end, like, him, every time he wakes up, feeling like that hurt, there's a soliloquy that Guy Pearse gives while Natalie sleeps on his chest, and she's asleep, and it's black and white. Well, it's not even black and white, it's just desaturated, so it's kind of like a mix between the both. And this film noir thing comes in where when he wakes up, he goes, awake, where am I? It's a room, a hotel room. Is it mine? Okay, what's in the drawers? Gideon Bible? Okay, cool. Whose clothes are these? What's happening? And he has to go through those steps every time because it's like fucking, waking up from a coma every time. And this one weird thing in the middle of the film that really like gives you a clue as to why he's still doing what he's doing, which is hunting for his wife's killer, no matter what. And you're kind of seeing the threads start to fray in his motivations. You're kind of seeing, like, why does he keep doing this? You're getting the inclination that maybe he's done it before, or maybe these people in the movie are taking advantage of him to get him to kill somebody else, maybe for their benefit, and telling him that it's the person, the bit where he's doing this soliloquy and he talks about the fact that he can't feel time. It's like, for me, it's the minute after my wife died. And that could have been if this is in 2000, that could have been in 1986, and for 4 years he's gone around living the same 7 minutes again and again and again, just building up with tattoos and with, like, getting that, playing the computer game to level 99, so he can get there super quick. We're not
supposed to know the timeline between the actual attack and what's happening now, because you're led
could have been a year, could have been 5 years.
He did this 2 or 3 times. He could have done it 10 times. He could have had 10 different groups of people all manipulating him.
Living all over the country. And later on we find out that probably, we don't get any definitive answer, but that probably has happened.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Teddy is a huge part of that. And he says he can't heal because he can't feel time. So in order to grieve, you need time to process the information. And because he can't feel time, because he lives the same 7 minutes, he can't heal. And when he says that, like, you realise, like, fuck, man, like, life is fucking tough. Like, even having a head, or even, like, going through something, like something happened to you and you have to process why and change your behaviours and actions so it doesn't happen to you again. And, like, maybe even change your character because you're putting yourself in situations with the same people over and over again. It's like, why do we keep making the same mistakes over and over? It's because you're trying to maybe teach yourself a lesson on something, you've had a trauma related to that, like all these psychological things, and he has to deal with that every 7 to 10 minutes. Go through that roller coaster of, like, why is my life like this?
It's really a head fuck when you break it down and analyse it. Yeah.
Crisis, like, and he can't heal, he can't grieve and get over his wife's death. Because every time he wakes up, he's right back to the moment after she's died. He's still in shock, in a perpetual state of shock and vengeance and anger. And he can never get past anger into, like, bargaining, into acceptance and the other stages of grief. He's just at anger. And it's turned him into a cold-blooded murderer.
Yeah, with that detective mindset. He always sees something.
And just instinct.
Yeah, he always sees something to look for a new clue. He's got clues tattooed on him.
Yeah.
But these clues, you find out later on that he has a license plate tattooed on his knee.
Yeah,
and like, you
don't
know,
spoil it now.
You know, you're like, this must be the killer's car. But you find out later on that it's not. It's somebody else's car. And why, you know.
Why has he got a tattoo?
Yeah.
If it's tattooed on you, it means it's true. So he has, like, fact 1, white. Fact 2, male. And you're going, like, okay, cool. Fact 3, drug dealer or whatever. And it's just, like, it's so well constructed, you know. What was your favourite part of the film, Andy? Like, I had a couple of ones. Like, you can pick any moment, really.
It's a hell of a film. Like, the whole thing overall is just...
But there's no set pieces. There's one chunk you can pull out. It is, like, pizza proof. Yeah. As Nolan wanted it.
I don't even know if we can talk about this my favourite bit so much without giving a spoiler.
Spoilerless. Go on.
We're introduced to Carrie Ann Moss, the character, and Natalie, and she's kind of helping him, and, like, she will help you out of pity. That's written on his thing, because written on the Polaroid. And you know, she's like, she's a good character. She's helping him, kind of thing. And then as it goes on, she realizes she's manipulating him.
So Carrie Ann Moss played Trinity in The Matrix, and she's also in, like, Disturbia and Fido, and in a couple of
well known for Trinity in The Matrix.
Yeah,
in fact, that's why Christopher Nolan saw The Matrix, saw Carrie Ann Moss and Joe Pantoliano.
Well, he saw Carrie Ann Moss and went, I want you. And Carrie Ann Moss went, you got to hire Joe as well.
Nice.
That's
and they play completely different characters than
absolutely.
they did in anything else. But there's a bit somewhere along the middle of the movie where like, you see Natalie's character with bruises. She's got a split lip and a black eye or whatever, like someone beat the shit out of her, and she kind of tells Leonard that this guy Dodd beat her up, and you have to kind of so Lenny will chase him down and blah blah blah.
And you put sympathy on Carrie Ann Moss's character. You meet her first in the diner when she's helping Leonard, and then you meet her when they're in the house and she's like, you think they have, like, kind of a sexual relationship, and you're like, oh, she must really love him. And then the next bit you see her coming in going, Dodd just beat the shit out of me. You're like, oh, Natalie. And then
and you get the impression that she's kind of, like, manipulating him, and then it's confirmed when it jumps back a few minutes and she doesn't have the bruises, and she's pushing his button. She's literally insulting his whore wife and just really, really winding him up. So, and he ends up Leonard punches her, and, like, you know, he's the one that gave her the bruises, and he's the one that you know, freaked out. She wanted to do that. She wanted him to do that to her so she could then use the bruises to manipulate him even further. But what she does is amazing. What she does, because she knows him well enough now to know how his memory works. He beats the shit out of her. She leaves the house
while she's abusing him. She's collecting all the pens.
She's getting down the pens so he can't write anything down.
Whore wife and putting all this stuff
gathering up all the pens. He ends up beating the shit out of her. She's just still constantly at it. She goes into her car. He thinks she's gonna, like, drive off. She literally just sits there, looks in the window, waits a couple of minutes. He's in a panic trying to find a pen to write the stuff down.
Keep it in mind.
It just cuts back to her. He looks, waits a few minutes, and then she just gets out of the car and knocks at the door, opens the door, and he's like, and all of a sudden Leonard's like, who did this to you? It's like, who do you think? Dodd. We must go after Dodd. And it's that moment of she doesn't go off and come back. She just sits there, looks at him, waits for the moment his memory kind of flips back
sits
over.
Sits in the driveway and waits for him to fuck up.
And it's a hell of a moment. I
remember watching it the first time, like, come on, get the pen.
Yeah.
It's fucking
and it's
heart-wrenching.
That really shows how cruel she is. She's really a cow. She's like a horrible.
But later on, you find out that that's almost justified. Like the roller coaster with Natalie's character, like, is really up and down, and it's purely from Christopher Nolan's writing. Like, he wrote the screenplay and directed it. Like, that's such a good character.
I think him and Jonathan Nolan, his brother, write together. Jonathan Nolan writes the stories.
Character.
It is.
Like, the roller coaster, you love her, you hate her, and then you go, oh no, you're justified being a cunt. Like, that's a shitty thing to have happen to you. I'm not going to tell you what it is, spoiler alert, but do you know what I mean? It's very, very cleverly written. My favourite bit is probably when he's talking on the phone in the black and white bits, and he's after telling the whole story of Sammy Jankis. And by the way, all of those Sammy Jankis scenes that Stephen Tobolowsky plays, who's needle-nosed Ned Ryerson in Groundhog Day. Remember me? It's Ned the Head, needle-nosed Ned Ryerson.
He's also the producer guy in Californication.
Yeah. He plays Sammy Jankis, and all of those scenes were improvised because there was no dialogue written for that. It was just like, look, you're this, just be that. And he's like, okay. Apparently he had amnesia in real life as well at one point.
Nice. It's clever because
for 3 or 4 days after an anesthesia misapplication, you know, when he was under anesthesia for an operation, and he had amnesia. He's like, I'll be using sense memory for this one. So the whole thing with that whole black and white scene when he's telling the story of Sammy Jankis, like, that's all improvised. And Guy Pearse comes in and he's trying to find, like, you know, he's trying to find a sliver of recognition in his eyes to go, like, you're fucking faking this shit. Or at the very least, like, it's
he reckons he sees,
you know, there's something there.
He thinks
it's not
he sees recognition, and he thinks that might be why he's faking it. But it's also like that's part of the kind of instinct, the human instinct. Instinctually you might recognize someone, you won't remember them. So
while he's talking on the phone, he's there saying the words, like, and he says, you know what, I didn't believe Sammy, I didn't believe him, and I cost him loads of money, and I ruined his life, and now I know he wasn't faking. When he looked at me and I saw like a glimmer of recognition in his eyes, I know now because I'm suffering from it. You just fake it. You don't want to seem like you don't know somebody, so you look at them and you know they look like they know you, so you just pretend like you know them back.
Because chances are you have met them.
And that's what
remember.
That's all he was doing, and I misread it as an insurance investigator. I'm like, "Rrr." Like, and this confession, you know, telling the whole story, the whole, like, machinations of his mind and how everything works to a stranger on the phone. And the whole time, like, in these black and white scenes, he's picking at this bandage, this, like, sticky bandage he has on his thigh, and eventually near the very end, he pulls that off, and it's a big tattoo that says, don't ever talk on the phone. And he's like, oh, who is this? And then they hang up and he's like, fuck, what have I told them? But it's just such a good mechanic, because every time you see that black and white and he's talking, like, you're panicking.
There's a constant, like, what's going on, when is this happening kind of thing. And it just comes back to Christopher Nolan's mastery. Like, there's no stopping what he can do as a storyteller, director.
Absolutely.
And it's just a perfect kind of example of the tension that you know, overwhelming tension, and you're like, what's going on? Like, when he removes that bandage and you're like, don't talk on the phone. He's been talking on the phone the last hour and a half,
but you don't know he's not supposed to, but you feel something is wrong, and then the next thing he's like, oh.
But it's that realization when Leonard realizes it, the audience realizes, so no one knows it, we don't know anything.
But you know that he's given someone ammunition to take advantage of him.
Yeah.
By the time we figure out that, by the time he figures it out in the movie, you've also figured it out. You're like,
because he's pretty much doing that to everyone, accidentally, inadvertently giving them ammunition to fuck him over, or use him for their gain. Like,
the don't believe his lies. Like, when you watch the film, folks, when you see that bit when he writes "don't believe his lies" on the back of the photo, that's the crux of the film.
And then, like, and if you think at the start of the movie, going backwards, he's constantly looking at this picture that says "don't believe his lies,"
and it moves the whole story forward. So it moves all of his actions, and all of his decisions are based on that.
So it's as if somebody, possibly Natalie, possibly someone else, told Leonard that, do not believe this guy's Teddy. Yeah. Do not believe his lies. But when you find out the moment when he writes "do not believe his lies," it's the turning point. Yeah,
absolutely slams you to bits. So we do a little thing on White Press Play called an alternative cast, and I had a good long think about this one, and I went digging to see who was auditioned for the parts of this. And the alternative casting for this, I think some of them are, I know, they're my choice. I think they're spot on. They could very well work. So for Leonard, Guy Pearse was the choice, but he was like third or fourth choice. Brad Pitt was supposed to be.
I did hear Brad Pitt. Yeah, that would have. I love Brad Pitt, but Guy Pearse, I don't even think I was a fan of Guy Pearse before this.
Yeah, that's it. Like, he wasn't in a lot. He was in Jack Irish.
Yeah, whatever that is. We must look that up.
Yeah, Brad Pitt was nearly the lead, but that year he was filming Spy Game and The Mexican. So he hadn't had time to do it. So he's like, I'm not in. And Charlie Sheen was also. That's my pick. Is Charlie Sheen as Leonard, just to see him fall apart.
Is that your pick based on a possible, like, he was in the running for it? Was he actually in the running
as well? Yeah, and I was like, oh, imagine that with Charlie Sheen. Like, fucked up 2000s, like,
because of what Charlie Sheen became, and 2.5 Men and stuff. I don't think that it wouldn't have been the same movie to go back to and watch it now.
No, 2.5 Men wouldn't have been made if Charlie Sheen did this film, because it would have elevated him back into being an actor. Whereas he faded away in the late 90s, mid to late 90s, into like a fucking coke hole, and ruined his career film wise, that he wasn't dependable or whatever. He was doing a couple of Hot Shots movies, and that was about it. But if he had done this as like a big dramatic role,
would have put him back on track for something.
Absolutely.
Yeah, possibly.
Do you know? Is there anyone you can think to do Leonard? There was talk of Aaron Eckhart as well. I think was supposed to
all like people that turned up in the Christopher Nolan movies. I was thinking
because he has, Christopher Nolan has a wish list, right?
He has a hit list, and a lot of but a lot of he comes back home and gets a lot of UK and Irish actors being from the UK, and he casts that way. But I was thinking, the likes of at the time, somebody big, somebody kind of like, that would have probably nailed it but made it different. Someone like Bruce Willis. Imagine somebody like Bruce Willis in that role.
Well, he did his own one then with Unbreakable. He had his own Memento,
his own kind of like like dramatic instead of non-action kind of film.
And I think there's a sequel, like not a sequel, not a linear sequel, but
there's something happening with that.
M. Night is doing something new.
I haven't seen Split yet, but apparently there's a link.
There's a link between
Unbreakable and Split, and that's what's potentially getting the sequel. I have to read more about it. There's
another movie called Unbreakable 2 coming.
Okay, but anyway, back to alternative casting. Nail on the head, especially thinking of Christopher Nolan. Who probably would have nailed this role, and I didn't think of it initially, I only thought of it recently. Christian Bale probably would have sank everything into that.
Well, the cunt fucking lost 70 pounds to play the
Christian Bale probably would have bashed his head in and try and forget things for this role.
Yeah.
Like, but
I'm going to give myself insomnia. Oh no, amnesia. I forgot what it was for a minute.
But like when Chris, even like when he's playing the Bruce Wayne kind of, when he's Bruce Wayne, that kind of the smoky kind of American, like the kind of lower tone American kind of accent. Yeah. That's what Leonard kind of has that.
Yeah.
I keep calling him Lenny because everyone in the movie calls him Lenny.
Lenny.
Everyone in the movie calls him Lenny.
Lenny.
Yeah, everyone calls him Lenny if he doesn't like it, and that just shows that people are taking a piss out of him. Lenny. Like, don't call me Lenny. My wife called me Lenny.
Yeah, that's so fucking good, man.
That's why I keep calling him Lenny, but I want to say Leonard. But I think Christian Bale would have brought something to that, come to think. And then of course Christopher Nolan obviously loves Christian Bale, and would have led to something, just would have led to the movie being different, but not a million miles away from what it could have been. Because
it needs to have a guy who was like fully competent, good looking, like confident, strong, together. Do you know, like a Josh Brolin, young Josh Brolin, who's just like strong jaw, like good looking, cut,
that kind of presence.
Yeah, the Aaron Eckhart face as well. That whole thing of like chiseled and but the kind of outwardly,
the almost aggressive,
outwardly perfect and inwardly fucked up.
Yeah, but the aggressive kind of presence as well.
Yeah. Like physically intimidating. He can do all of that stuff. Like he's trained, like a ninja or a fighter, an MMA fighter. He's trained to move on instinct. And you look at Guy Pearce's body, and he looks like a guy who's trained to move on instinct. The thing with Christopher Nolan, he has his brunettes. So there's a whole thing, online where he always works. He always has a strong brunette that drives the plot. So he had the girls in the Batman movies, and he had the Prestige and Insomnia. There was always a brunette driving the story forward, right? And Carrie Ann Moss was the driving brunette in this one. And I tried to think of somebody that could replace her. with her fire and her ability to run hot and cold. And like you said earlier on, like when she comes in and she acts like a cunt and gets him to box her in the head. But earlier on, she's playing like the hurt girlfriend who's living with loss. And later on, and she's playing the "I love you," like I'm trying to help you. Like there's fucking a lot of undulations there in her character, and it's I think it
even the smarmy scene, where she's really smarmy with the spitting in the cup.
Yes,
you know, like she's real
evil and malevolent. I think there's like a mad undulation in her character, and to be honest, like Guy Pearse, great and all. I think Natalie is the most important character in that movie.
Potentially, yeah. She kind of does. She drives it along a lot.
And Christopher Nolan puts strong brunettes, like the Maggie Gyllenhaal, like that whole Batman movie was all about the relationship and the drive to save her, and the sacrifice that had to be made. Like, you know,
yeah.
In The Dark Knight, like that's the crux of the movie. It's not about Batman. It's not about justice. It's about like the need for sacrifice. And Maggie Gyllenhaal's at the start of that. So Natalie is that thing where it's like the need for revenge or the need for justice in this movie. And I tried to think of somebody who I've seen recently enough that I could say, yeah, she'd be able for that. And I just watched Big Little Lies. Did you watch that?
I didn't, no.
It's got Nicole Kidman and Shailene Woodley, and the woman that I think would be really good as Natalie, Reese Witherspoon. So Reese Witherspoon is in this Big Little Lies, and it's a mad psychological thriller of 3 women living in this, like, you know, rich West Coast town in, you know, somewhere up Northern California, and they're all super rich and all this stuff. And they're a pack of cunts, and there's a murder, and, you know, this whole thing. Big Little Lies, go check it out. We're going to do a show on it too. Really, really good show, right? And Reese Witherspoon is a tour de force in that shit. She is fucking amazing. And she plays like hurt, and she plays like the, you know, and the angry and the revenge, and it's all like this undulation of her character, like full gamut of human emotion.
I haven't quite seen Reese Witherspoon in that kind of light.
But that's the thing, I didn't either. And I watched Wild, and I was like, fucking kudos, bitch. You got them walking shoes on. Did really well in Wild. I watched this Big Little Lies, and I went, oh, she's fucking deadly. She is deadly. And as Natalie, doing that hot and cold thing, I think she could be really good.
Well, my alternative cast for Natalie could be possibly, now I'm not saying Carrie Ann Moss isn't a good looking woman, she is, but she has that kind of, maybe if Natalie was too good looking,
she has a cat's face.
Yeah, but she's good looking,
like
maybe if Natalie was too good looking, it would throw off the kind of tone. But somebody like Mila Kunis.
Yes.
Someone like a Mila Kunis who, like, you know, really, really smoky, hot, good looking. Yeah. But Mila Kunis can play that up and down dramatic, and she can be
as well.
She can be that kind of ratty kind of thing. Yeah, so that could work.
Mila Kunis, I like that.
That would have worked,
and it fits in with Nolan's brunette.
Yeah, exactly.
Reese Witherspoon is blonde. He's like, no, I don't want a blonde.
Yeah.
Who do you think could play Teddy? Like, Joe Pantoliano does a really, really good job.
He does.
And the voice, the mustached, creepy look, and also. He's mysterious, like
it's got to have that smarminess about him as well. Like, it's got to
as well, yeah.
Yeah, who could
do it? I think that, and I know it's probably, you know, he'd steal the show. I think Joe Pesci would be really good as Teddy.
You know, I was actually thinking that
older Joe Pesci, like Joe Pesci from the later Lethal Weapons. You know, Leo. Whatever you want, Leo gets. Like that guy.
Yeah, it is that kind
like,
of
Lenny, like jumping out in front of the thing, you know, looking, and have him with receding hair, and have him with the glasses and the mustache, and put Joe Pesci into like the Robin Williams in 1 Hour Photo situation, where it's totally outside of his normalcy, and it's outside of his physical appearance as well, you know, where they made Robin Williams look really old.
If
they made like Joe Pesci look way older and gave him the receding hairline and the mustache, and because Joe Pantoliano kind of looks like the way he looks all the time.
True. I think the Matrix was a bit different because he had the kind of slim line, shaved head.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joe Pesci, I think, like,
imagine
he would have played it the same way, but a bit pushed. It's that kind of like. But when Joe Pesci,
there's an underlying anger in Joe Pantoliano's character that I don't think is fully realised.
Yeah,
there's
there
a
is.
hatred
And
for
Joe
Lenny.
Pantoliano always kind of plays those characters where, like, he never gets super angry or never gets super, like, he doesn't have to push the emotions. Like in The Sopranos, he has a kind of his character in The Sopranos is kind of non-dramatic, kind of nondescript, kind of almost like
guarded,
kind of,
guarded, and
he's kind of like
controlled.
Yeah, like he has no kind of, he's not that mafioso hard ass kind of guy.
Think Joe Pesci could be a really good crazy Teddy. Like when the shit goes down, it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Because the shit goes down a couple of times in the film, and Teddy, throws hands. It gets. I think Joe Pesci would be really good at that. Bert the motel guy, who is one of these character actors that pops up now and again. He was in The Last Man on Earth as like one of the bad guys. He's in like Flaked.
He turns up in a lot of things. You definitely know his face. One of those, I didn't even know his name, but I knew his face. Yeah,
you'd absolutely know his face. He plays the landlord in Flaked, which if you haven't seen it, it's on Netflix at the moment, and it's with the Will Arnett joint where he plays an alcoholic living in I think
I watched the first episode of that.
Really good show,
I must get back into it.
Really good show. And he plays like his landlord there, and he's the same old, like, I'm an old stony Grateful Dead listening motherfucker, And I think there's a lot of interactions between Leonard and him, and he rents him a second room and does all that stuff. I think Jack Black would have been really, really good at that. To see Jack Black in that role.
Yeah,
so when you're watching it for the first time, imagine that as Jack Black, and how much more memorable, or how much.
Yeah, like when these like over the top comedy actors can kind of pull it in and really play a dramatic kind of, not really dramatic, but just like not comedic. And yeah. The
actor's name is Mark Boone. That's the guy who plays him. But I think Jack Black would be perfect. And then for Sammy Jankis, played by Stephen Tobolowsky, Ned the Head Ryerson, I really like some of Tom Lennon's dramatic stuff. So you'd know him from Reno 911. Yeah, he's in a few different things, and he's a voice actor, really good in a lot of stuff. He's in Bob's Burgers and stuff like that. And but he plays like little parts in loads of. He often plays like a teacher or a principal or a guidance counsellor, and he was in Reno 911 as the main actor, obviously, him, and big Morrissey fan as well. But yeah, Tom Lennon would be really good, I think, as the Sammy Jankis character, to improv, because he's an improv comedian. He works with the Upright Citizens Brigade Theatre in New York and LA, and like that whole scene was improv, and most of the black and white stuff, the flashbacks that Guy Pearse is doing is all improv. It's just him telling the story that he knows of Sammy Jankis into the phone while going around the hotel room. Like the whole movie was filmed in 25 days. Like that's really short for a film of that scale.
Yeah, if there's so much going on in so many different locations. And
Carrie Ann Moss did hers in 8 days. She was in and out, bish bash bosh. And I mean, you put Guy Pearse in a room for 2 days with his top off and just go, look, just talk into that film and we record you black and white. I wanted to ask you, do you think, because Christopher Nolan shoots on film all the time, do you think the expense of shooting a whole movie in colour forced him into black and white, and he used that as maybe like an excuse to put that bit as the because black and white film would be cheaper, obviously, because Clerks, like
of course. Clerks, well, the same way with Following, his first film Following, he funded himself, was all black and white, super 16mm because it was cheaper. I personally wouldn't imagine that was a driving force behind that, because Memento was like, I think $4 million budget, $4 million in like 99 or whatever that would have been. Yeah. Like, but I think Christopher Nolan is the type of filmmaker that once he gets the money, he can be extremely resourceful and make all the right creative decisions, regardless of what kind of money they have. So I think in his head, he was picturing this to differentiate the black and white was driven by to absolutely differentiate the two stories. The story going backwards and the story going forwards. So I think, like, regardless,
it wasn't just a handy budget cut thing.
I wouldn't imagine so.
No.
If this had been $100 million movie, would have chose to do it black and white or something really obvious. Yeah. So like that, I don't think it was a budgetary thing. This is a low budget movie, but Christopher Nolan went from making Following, which he made in London with his mates over the space of a year, to having $4 million to
make this movie in 25 days.
So it's like $4 million is a massive, even though it's low budget technically, it's a massive jump for an independent filmmaker, which Christopher Nolan was at the time.
It's a lot of money to invest in someone you don't know is going to be 100%,
It is, but when you have a story like that, and you just imagine Christopher Nolan pitching this to Hollywood executives after coming from London. That's why he's such a special person. He's like and what he became in such a short space of time is overwhelming.
It is, as well though. Like this movie didn't get critical acclaim. It only got $9 million in the cinemas, And later on, over the course of a year after that, when it got submitted to all of the awards ceremonies and all the stuff, it ended up making another 30 on top of that, and cinema re-releases, and then video re-releases, and then DVD re-releases.
That was at a time when DVDs were just peaking. Like they were just about to peak. So in the noughties, throughout the noughties, DVD was at its height, and a lot of movies found a resurgence. Like a lot of movies that studios would have lost money on, made money back in DVD
or that they
sales.
didn't want to put the full weight of the studio like promotion machine behind, because they're like, no, we've already lost enough already, let's bail. Do you know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of movies that got kind of abandoned, and that's what White Press Play is all about, man. We go find those motherfuckers and be like, hey, check this out, remember this shit? So if you like Christopher Nolan films, I think Memento is a must watch for anybody, like your granny to your
It is. It's a hell of a film to even just consider. If you've watched The Dark Knight, if you know what The Dark Knight is, if you've watched Inception, just go back and watch an early Christopher Nolan movie, and you'll see the elements, like the detective element, the kind of the non-chronological,
the noir thing,
drama, the film noir stuff as well. Yeah,
absolutely.
And the fact the black and white is used. You got the film noir style, but it's a hell of a story. It's a hell of,
and
like,
the way it's told.
Yeah,
so let's get into one reason why then. Anthony, you're obviously going to join us for the Christopher Nolan episode. So on this show, we're going to be doing movies every few days. We're going to be doing a big 2-hour TV show episode and a big director or an actor episode, which will be another 2 hours, where we go over the work of a certain director, go over his history and maybe some of his techniques and stuff. And you being a filmmaker will be able to give us some insight into exactly how Christopher Nolan does it, why he does it, and what maybe we expect from him in the future. You want to come on and do the Christopher Nolan show?
Sounds good to me. Yeah, Christopher Nolan has like been one of my favourite directors for a long time, and the best thing
you sound like you love him.
I have a proper man crush on Christopher Nolan, but the best thing is he's one of the directors that I never had to go back and catalogue his stuff. I've been following him since his second film. The only back catalogue I went to was Following, which is kind of hard to find. I had like a friend in film school give me a copy of it or something, and then I'm just a massive Batman fan, so when I heard he was doing Batman, it blew my little mind.
A lot of people underestimate movies like The Prestige.
Yes, The Prestige is
2006 now.
It's a little one that's just hidden in there. It's great performances from Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. It's a really good, you wouldn't put that in with Christopher Nolan films.
No, you wouldn't.
People think of Christopher Nolan now and they think of Batman and the Dark Knight trilogy and Inception and the big massive,
and Interstellar
and Dunkirk and all these big films. But when he makes a small film, and it's not a small film, Prestige is probably about 10, 12, 15 million kind of budget, but it's a small film by what he went to do.
It came out at the same time as another Ed Norton movie that was very similarly done.
Another magic film, wasn't it? Yes.
At the very same time. And that usually happens, like one studio exec gets word of it, is like, oh fuck, Universal are making, like Christopher Nolan or Universal, they're making a fucking they're making a magic film, we better make one too, like turn of the century, some Tesla shit like or something. And then they released this other movie with Ed Norton in it called The Illusionist.
Yes, I remember seeing,
at the very same time.
I rember seeing two of those movies out, and I went straight to Prestige because I've been following Christopher Nolan.
But a lot of people, it was a toss up, it was like, fucking loads of magic films, lads with long coats and bowler hats. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it's magic films,
the same dudes
set in the kind of periodic,
the same colour palette and the same fucking set dressing.
They're weirdly similar. Even the posters looked similar.
Yeah, and there was similar budget as well. Both $16 million. It wasn't. They could nearly go in and go, Christopher, you finished with that set for the day? I want to go and have a go with their Ed is out here smoking fags, getting ready to go on.
Oh, something tells me Christopher Nolan doesn't let that shit fly.
No. But that's the thing though, like The Prestige, I think really, and we're going to do one on The Prestige. You'll join us for that one, right?
Oh yes, absolutely. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I'll go back and watch that.
We'll go back and watch
that one.
I love that movie, and it is that kind of thing of like the rise and rise of the Nolan brothers. This was the absolute, like, unquestioning siren call of the Nolan brothers, where they went, we are here, get ready. These two motherfuckers are making movies.
Absolutely. And like Jonathan Nolan always gets the credit, the writer credit. Like he's a writer, and like Christopher Nolan's the masterful filmmaker. He's the masterful film director, and I'm sure Jonathan Nolan's just happy out where he is.
Happy out
where he is, but
stays at home and he's jocks to the typewriter.
Probably a lot more to be said. Maybe Christopher Nolan is more of the driving force. But just on that note, I did hear when Jonathan Nolan wrote The Dark Knight Rises, he gave the script to Christopher Nolan and he said, read it, but when you read it, think of A Tale of Two Cities. Is that and apparently,
you can see that.
Apparently when Christopher Nolan read Jonathan Nolan's script, thinking of A Tale of Two Cities, it just opened up his mind to what.
But that's why there's 3 anticlimaxes in Dark Knight Rises, and people are like, the film should have ended when Batman flew off into the distance.
Yeah, personally, I love it. I still hold on to that movie as Dark Knight Rises. I really, really like
love it. But people are like, I want it to be Hollywood. And it's like,
yeah, it's because the Dark Knight
too long.
Because the Dark Knight was so perfect. Dark Knight has everything. You can come in and out of that movie. You can watch it as a standalone movie. But The Dark Knight Rises is really a sequel to Batman Begins. Yeah. Obviously, we can talk about this stuff more, the Christopher Nolan episode. But like Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan. I've never heard anyone refer to him as the Nolan brothers.
This is the first bloom of like, you know.
Yeah, for anyone that's a fan, anyone that likes kind of independent film, go back and watch Following. Following shows Christopher Nolan finding his style, finding his non-chronological style, and he made it. Apparently, he was working for some corporate video production company or something, and he made this film on the weekends over the space of a year.
So this is what we're going to be getting you to do over the next year, Addy, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Few bob.
That's
we get on to patreon.com/escapismfilms and throw you a few bob and see what
That's the plan, to make a big feature film and get to Hollywood. Well, but it's remarkable what Christopher Nolan did in such a short space of time. Absolutely. And Memento was the platform, the jumping platform. He made this stauncher of a dramatic film that just took him to a whole next level in Hollywood.
What's your one reason why to watch this?
One reason to watch this is because it's one of those amazing mystery thrillers that's non-chronological. Again, I said earlier on, so many films are non-chronological, but this is the only one that's absolutely justifiably non-chronological, and it's not just edited around for the hell of it. It's justified why it's backwards, and it's a head fuck, it's a tension builder because it goes backwards. Watch it for that and that alone. And if you're into film, if you're a film nerd, if you follow directors, if you like Inception, go back and watch this because of Christopher Nolan's early work.
I would similarly say the time thing is like a must watch. That's one part of it. But my one reason why is it's original.
Absolutely.
And it's very hard to find an original movie these days in the land of fucking reboots and book, adaptations, and first it was a book and then it was a film and then they made a film out of the book and then they made another film out of the film out of the book. Like, fuck off.
Yeah,
bro. This used to be a comic book and then we got a lad in to do it and then like we fucking left it for 20 years for it to, This is a story that 2 lads come up with driving across the country going, it'll be great, this, cool, how much do you need? About £4 million. Alright, cool. Like that shit. That's how movies should be made. And I know he was given a Batman franchise and told, here, do this thing. But this was off the back of like 5 whopper films that he had made,
No, he got Batman Begins straight after Memento.
Yeah, but I'm saying that he ended up making like 3 movies in between.
Oh yeah, but Christopher Nolan was always a massive Batman fan, and in Following, his first movie Following, there's a scene where someone knocks at an apartment door and there's a Batman symbol on the back of the door.
It was nearly his destiny.
It absolutely was. He wasn't just given this Batman trilogy.
Just like the guys are being handed the fucking Star Wars movies. The Han Solo movie now the director got bumped and they had to put Ron Howard in as the director, and who God knows what's going to happen. It's kind of
like director for hire, which is in theory what you want to be. But Christopher Nolan became this director for hire, but he probably got somebody like, imagine, this is just me hypothesizing, it probably didn't happen, but imagine if somebody sat down Christopher Nolan and said, so you made this amazing movie, so we have Iron Man, we have Superman, and we have Batman. Batman I'll have, please. Like that might have happened, like, because he already was this big Batman fan. Like,
that's it. I like, it's mad to know like that the guy who directed the newest reiteration, the shittest Fantastic Four movie, was like rolling in hammered on drugs and all to the last few days of the filming and stuff like that, and then when it was starting to come out he was like slating it online.
You're talking about Josh Trank? Yeah,
while he was still in line to direct Rogue One or one of the other the other Star Wars Origins. He made like
1 or 2 other films before that,
and Josh Trank fucking tanked, and now he's out in his arse because he fucking,
I don't know what happened there with him, but
that
Chronicle's a great movie.
That's what happens because like Christopher Nolan knows his business and he does his business right, and this you can see as the starting of the greatness that he would become. Like, for such a small budget, it's one of the most original movies of the 21st century. I don't know if 2000 is in the 21st century. I'm going to say it is for this quote.
I'd say it is.
But one of the most original movies. It's executed brilliantly, and it's in my top 10 anyway of best films.
It's always been in my top 5 for a long time. It's a special film. And
so
you're right,
Andy's going to join us for the Christopher Nolan episode and maybe the Prestige episode as well. Chalk it all down. If there's anything you think we missed or anything you think we should have put in or anything we said that we shouldn't have said, you can get us at info@ypressplay.com. You can get us all on social media. YPressPlay on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. We have a Reddit subreddit r/YPressPlay. We also have the Discord server if you want to get in and have the chats about Memento now that we're releasing it today. You can chat with your friends and talk about your favourite bits. And supporting the show as always, the people on Patreon, thank you so much. Patreon.com/YPressPlay if you want to throw $1 and support the show. You get loads of back behind the scenes Anthony Downs butt crack shots, and we have the black and white reverse version of us recording this show as well. We also have a load of video content on YouTube, VidMe, and Twitch, where we also stream live, and we do Google Hangouts and stuff where we all get together and nerd out about movies. And you can tell me how bad I am at remembering actors' names. The guy, do you remember the guy in The Thing? That's going to be a t-shirt I'm going to get. Remember the guy from The Thing? And we're going to have live shows as well on Discord, so if you have any Patreon subscribers that want to join in with us, I'm going to be piping out our audio as we record them out through the Discord app, so make sure you download that and join in. And subscribe in your podcast player and give us a review and or release some stars. It's not important to you, and it's easy to do, and it's really important to us. And to iTunes, obviously, gets us up in the charts and stuff like that, gives us unconditional high regard. So thanks very much to Anthony for joining us. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me again, Gordo.
It's good to have you here.
It is. I'm always happy to talk about movies in a microphone.
Yeah, we'll see you again soon. You're getting your podcasting chops in now. You feel comfy.
Yeah, this is my first attempt at podcasting that I've been talking about it for a while now, and podcasting in general with you. I'm glad to have a pro to show me the ropes.
Yeah, man. I mean, I wouldn't say pro, but I mean,
oh man, you're up there. You have a whole podcast
talking for
network there.
Yeah, it's good, man. If you want to listen to the other show that we produce from this studio, it's called Those Conspiracy Guys. I guess you may have typed in Memento and found us from here. It's probably quite rare. You're probably coming over from Those Conspiracy Guys. But if you haven't listened to it, it's all about conspiracies. It's comedy. It's a bit of crack. And you can join us at thoseconspiracyguys.com or subscribe on iTunes. So that's it for White Press Play for this time. That was Memento by Christopher Nolan. And I mean, we are definitely going to do more shows on him. So thanks for listening. Check us out online and let us know what you think. Thanks very much for listening. Bye.